Yama g'day and welcome to the round table. I'm Luna and good to hear from you again. So this week's subject is what is change and why. And this week on the round table I haven't even prepared, what a day. We got Donnie and Bernays, Jules, Malia, Naysay and Sharon. G'day everyone. Okay. So
Good day, Luna.
all right, I'm off to a rough start, but it's okay. So, what is change and why? Change can be found in every aspect of our lives. In the past few weeks, we have discussed many words: unity, fear, truth, belief, wisdom, love, patience, virtues, just to name a few. All of these words, including us, are subject to change. Sorry, I think I've got a technical problem. So, is change an entity of its own? Is it a set thing like a clock that appears at a predicted time? Or does it flow like water? Can it be a blessing or a phenomenal force that makes a mess of our life? And how essential is change? Can it be measured? And what are the effects of the absence of change? And where can we see change in today? And in the natural world, change is a constant present thing. It's like the natural world thrives on it. So these questions and more we're going to look at today while I fix my technical problem. And change. Well, you fellas, what do you reckon there? Anyone want to go for that?
Food-wise, this is like a full course meal. There's a lot of juicy bits here. Change happens whether some of us realize it or not. For some of us, we actually can see change. Some of us, we actually strive for it and we set out goals for change. And sometimes change just naturally occurs. When certain events that unfold, certain events that happen throughout one's life, gradual change comes as a result of it. Sometimes for the best, sometimes for the worst. But change is inevitable. Inevitable change is one thing that's constant. Change, every moment changes.
So,
And just like Sharon said, change is the only thing we can count on.
true. Why is it though some people don't like change and they try to control everything? So something in them goes, if I can control everything and control that change, I'll be okay.
I think a lot of people are creatures of habit, and they're accustomed to doing something one way because it's a routine. It's what they do. They've done it for so long. It's a well-oiled machine. They know how much time it takes, and change is hard for a lot of people because you have to come out of your comfort zone. And for me, when I had to come out of my comfort zone a couple of times this year, and it was scary, it was hard, but you got to do it. But not knowing the end result is what made me strive for change.
I'm going to get right into it because for our people culturally, we don't like change. Especially in today's world, we'll go to a community centre and they'll introduce us to the person running the community centre, and the whole community will go there for a couple of years, and then as jobs go, that person will either get a better job or they'll move somewhere else, right? And then they'll give us another person, and then no one will go to that community centre because there's change had taken place. But the change they made was in the person. They don't so much mind changing the place itself, but when you change the person, we just don't show up. We don't like that. We instill trust in the person and we get to know them. They know us culturally and we all feel comfortable, and then they change it and then no one goes. And they wonder why their system don't work. And it's because we are really sensitive to certain changes. And as you know, our people, we're sensitive to nature changes. We're all good with that. This is what I find funny about our culture. We're all good with nature changes. Everything changes every second of the day. It's all part of the plan. But you change the person on us and we all freeze up and go, no, I'm not going there anymore. Hey, that's right, isn't it, Donnie? Donnie's muted.
I'm resilient to change as well. I mean, it was the fear that got me about change, is the fear of the unknown and going through the unknown. And when you're in doubt of something, you are more, well, for me, I'm more susceptible to feeling negativity or pressured or being frustrated, and those are negative emotions for me. That's why I'm resistant to change. I don't like the bad parts associated with change, the feelings of what if, the doubt, all of that
comes in. And I've got to do this. Change, change, change. You know that song. And I'd like to welcome Polly, our corner seat, because it's not a round table without our corner seat. Even though he's muted up at the moment, but that's okay. But
can I just add one thing to you guys being a little reluctant to? It's like that happens everywhere. Like if you have a boss that you loved, right, or you got used to them, and you get in a new boss, they have to earn your trust. If you get into a relationship with friends or a new boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever you have, you have to you have to earn their trust. They have to earn yours. And I think in my job as a consultant, first thing I have to earn is everybody's trust. And it's the first thing I think about on the first day of my job. That is not going to be handed to me at all. So I think the fact that your community goes, this person, who is this person? They have to earn our trust.
Yeah.
I think you're being smart myself.
Yeah, we're all like that as a people. And like I said, change in nature, we're accustomed to that. Every little fraction of a second, it's just part of it. But change in people is a different thing. Donnie put in there, we've been doing things for the same way for thousands of years. But I even find that if I go to a shop and there's a nice person in the shop, I'll go back to that shop. And then if I go back and there's someone different, I'll probably miss it a few times until I get used to that and other person. And if I don't like that other person, I won't go in that shop anymore. I never actually noticed. Looking at myself thinking, gee, that's a bit judgmental, Anne-Marie. Okay.
You're just... well, and in this day and age, I think everybody should be very mindful to how they're putting themselves out there and, who are they trusting and how is their behavior, right? It's like we all have our masks. Literally, we all have our masks on and off all the time now.
True.
And I went to a dentist on Thursday or Friday. I don't know. I'm all lost from last week, but it was a brand new dentist. And my crown fell out, so I had to go. And I found one that I didn't have to get a jib job. She came into the room and she introduced herself and she pulled her mask off and she said, I want you to see my face.
Oh, nice.
I'm Dr. Blah, blah, blah. And I thought, wow.
Nice.
She told me something about her. She comes from Uruguay, down by Argentina, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And her history as the dentist and as a doctor and how long she's been in practice. And she said, I want you to hear what I tell all my patients.
Oh,
that's nice. Amazing. I don't think I've ever had a dentist do that.
I usually ask questions. Dentists and doctors, why do you do this? How
right.
What made you do it? Because I like to poke around and see how passionate they are about their job before I let them go near me.
She loves it. But the fact that she took her mask off.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And said, I want you to see my face.
That's beautiful. We need more people like that.
It was. Yeah, well, that's where we are right now.
I actually ask people, can you take your mask off so I can see who you are? And they go, oh, they forget they're wearing it.
Man, I every minute I have that thing on, I can't, I go nuts.
Well, I was asked to wear one once, and I went, I'm already wearing one. Do you want to see what I really look like? And they just put their head down. They probably thought, oh, another nut, crikey. No. But we do wear
Well, that's
masks.
what I do when I'm in the store. If I have a mask on, I put my head down. I don't look at anybody anymore.
But we may, without
Just
without those paper ones, before that, we all wore like people wore masks. You could see people that weren't real. You'd look at them and go, you're wearing a mask. Why would they wear a mask? Are they afraid of change? Are they afraid of themselves? Do they think that if they be themselves, it's going to change everything? See, change can be really scary on those kind of things, you know. Oh, if I'm brave enough.
I think a lot of people know there's change about, and they don't want this new change coming. And so, as the last hope, if we do this, we won't have to do this. We can go back to the way things were.
But that never
We can
happened.
go back. We do this. If we do this, because people don't like change, that's why they're compliant. That's why they're complacent. They don't like change, and they don't want it.
You change.
So they comply.
Thinking it's going to go back to normal, but that's what change means. It's not going that way. It looks different now. Do you think change? Because when I was thinking about the questions yesterday, I had 100 million questions, I tell you, and I thought, no, I'm not writing them all down. One of them was change. Do we really change, or is it just growing? Is the seed have change around it, and as it germinates, it's part of us? And change is the actual force that helps us grow and stretch and bear fruit.
Yes, I think so.
I think so too.
Yeah, and that brought me to the question, is change really the left arm of time? Because time changes, they're very connected, time and change. And then I thought, well, that means that change is a force, a motion, like a water flow that moves around. And then I asked the question, does it have special targets? Does change look at our life and go, you need change, I'm coming? It made me wonder. I'd never, I just accept change. I don't like it sometimes, because especially things that, like, I went for a walk yesterday down the park, and there were these old trees. I even showed Polly a picture of them. They went camouflaged, camo kind of bark on them. They were beautiful trees. They were all gone. I walked past them, they were all gone. I just grabbed my hand on my heart and kept walking. And I'm thinking, okay, it's just change. And a part of me is going, no, it's not. They just killed them trees. They've been there for like 40 years. It's just change. So that's the fine line I found in change. Like, it would have been nice to leave the trees there, but change is coming and the park's getting better. Is it though? And can we deflect change at all in any way? Or prolong change? I know we can bring it quicker. We can bring change.
Oh, we're prolonging change. The more people comply with band-aids. I mean, with mandates, this and that. I mean, they're prolonging the change. Change is going to happen regardless. Tomorrow is going to be different.
Yes.
Just like today was different than yesterday. Change is inevitable. Only complying just prolongs it. The benefit, I should say, for me, I think that what's going on with the world and all the masks and everything, it's only prolonging the positive aspects of the change.
Why do you think we can? Because we can predict change sometimes, right? We can see it coming. We can see it forming together, and we can go, there's going to be changes there. And that's what made me thought, is it like, it's predictable? Does it have a certain pattern? Or is it just what it's applied to that makes it predictable?
I think some things are predictable, but I think right now I personally feel that humanity is being herded like a bunch of sheep into the place where the the powers that should not be, as Naysay refers to them, would like us to go. And change is beautiful if it's going with the ebb and flow of our own growth and our own journey here. I think right now things are being forced on us, like masks or jib jabs or whatever else, and we don't want to go in that direction. We don't want our children to have all this junk. So we're having to adapt and change based on a bunch of idiots who want to run and control everything, right? So
Yeah.
if it's in a normal flow of our journey here, then it can be peaceful. It can be beautiful. It can be a good thing.
I agree with that too. Because throughout the course over the year, I've encountered that. I mean, I didn't want to. I mean, I knew I had to. I didn't want to. But in hindsight, getting out and looking and pounding the pavement, being forced out of my comfort zone. 2 months down the road, 3 months down the road, I'm far better off than I was.
Well, if you just take 2021 for change on me personally, it is giant slalom skiing, standing up, falling down. The changes are massive. The changes I've been able to handle. It's the forced reset that I'm having a problem grasping what they're trying to reset me for.
Same here.
So
At this point, I think there's quite a few of us sitting here going, well, just tell me what the game is, and we'll play. But they don't seem to. Well, they want to show what their game's going to be, which is straight down, full control,
It's like
control, or what's there's me. There's something else cooking here. You don't see heads of state losing it on TV, telling their subjects that you're going to do this or else. Well, I've never seen it, and I thought I grew up in a country that wouldn't allow that type of stuff. That actually went and tried to stop things like that. But I guess in the Great Reset, they reset that too. I vote on that, but they definitely reset it without my consent.
apparently this is the fourth industrial reset.
Changing the rules of the game.
Apparently this is the fourth.
Yeah.
Go, Sharon.
No, go ahead, Luna. I just wanted to add something after you get done. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, apparently this is the fourth industrial reset. And I was just thinking, listening to you, Benays, that old change and new change. And an example would be when I was a child, you took your own bag to the shop, then they started giving you a bag, and now they've gone back to giving you take your own bag. But if a child was born now, they wouldn't have known the history of that change, and they would think we had originally been given bags, and then now you take your own bag, which is a new change, but it isn't. It's actually an old change. So this change that we're facing, it's actually an old change coming back round the cycle again. And we think it's a new change.
I follow you with that, with the whole bag situation. It's like back in the day, you would bring your own bags to the supermarket or to the stores. And you would use those, and then plastic shopping bags became ever popular. And now bringing your bags are coming again popular, because for every bag that you use at the store, you get taxed on.
But this fourth reset that we're in, it's happened four times already. I've been asking myself the question, okay, in the last industrial reset, when they brought machinery into the factories, a lot of people lost their jobs, and a lot of people ended up in the nut house, the asylums. because they couldn't fathom the change that was coming, and similar things happening now.
Look at what happened when they gave them vaccines back then for that stupid disease, right? And they forced it on those guys. Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the word game because I think that's part of the change. And I had a dream about Hugh Jackman, and in the dream, Hugh Jackman's, you know how Hugh Jackman's bigger than life. I love him. He's from Australia, right? He's like, you have to, and he said, he's looking at me in the dream, and he goes, you have to love the game to win the game. And I've been starting to think about that in lieu of all of the stuff that they push us. You know, they're always pushing us forward. They're always, like you said, with the bags. It's just like, it's another program change, and it's all part of them screwing with us. I mean, it can you imagine? I think Stephen mentioned that yesterday on Kev's show when he was talking about, as a teacher, when you take the chaos out of the children's lives, they have a better, they enjoy school better. They need to know their stability. And what's happened right now is there's no stability in our society. They're screwing with our heads on everything. So one day it's one thing, and you know, you got Fauci talking about the science, and then you got people talking about the bags. If you live in California, you have to wear a mask, and you take your mask off and you put it back on. And nobody knows what day it is. You have to look it up. So I have to wear a mask from the 15th of December to the 15th of January. What about the 14th of December? Was I not going to get sick that day? Is that a magic day? Is that the 14th? And then on the 16th of January, I'm not going to get sick that day either? Should I just stop breathing? I mean, to me, Luna, this is just this whole insanity of game playing and programming.
I think that's their target, is to
want you to quit breathing, dear.
Yeah.
That's exactly. Yeah, stop breathing. That's the message.
And they want you
quiet.
They want
Stop
you to be
talking.
Confused. They don't want you to figure out. They don't want you to adjust to the change. They want you to break up in the change. You like the
There
monkey.
you go, Connie. Perfect.
That's what they want you to. They want you to do that. That's why you got to be calm and go, all right, I can get this. We're beautiful beings. Our Creator gave us everything we needed to get through all the things that we face. We wouldn't be here if we didn't have the tools. And they're using change against us, I would say, because in nature, change is a beautiful thing. It keeps everything growing, keeps everything forward for the future generations. It's perpetual. It's a beautiful thing, but they're using it to confuse us and break us down and literally kill us, one way or another.
Yes, and that's where you guys were talking about put your spears down and play your own game. You have to play your own game.
Yeah.
You have to start. In the dream, when Hugh Jackman said that, it took me a long time to figure out what the hell he was talking about. But it was like, he's right. I have to love this game. I can't avoid it. It's everywhere around me. Basically, I think what he was saying is figure out your own rules in this game. And it was like what you and Jules were talking on Kev Baker's show last night. Put the spears down. Don't worry about that. It's not going to be as scary as we think, but we have to realize it's a game. Mm-hmm. And we have to get stronger in our owning of the game and maybe changing our own rules. Because people are talking here about just ignoring the mask mandate. It's been mandated throughout the whole state. Well, screw it. We don't want to put the mask on. It's just a mandate.
Well, people here at the moment, we don't have to, right? The other, on the 15th here, everything was barred. We're allowed to go to the shop and everything. Not that I've been. And that's the funny thing. Now we're allowed to go to the shop, but we don't really want to go. I suppose there are them people out there that need... They would be out there buying stuff, trying to make it as normal as possible, ignoring the change. But anyway, so I went out just to get groceries yesterday, and we got still people wearing masks. They don't have to. And then you got all these people that are come sane and gone, I'm not wearing nothing, I'm not doing nothing, I'm just going back to normal, as in living their lives normal as possible. And you look at the masked people, and I felt like going up and... Oh, actually, here's something. I'm proud of my husband. He actually did that. He was in a shop. he put his hand on this guy's shoulder and he said, "Brother, you don't have to wear a mask as of yesterday. We don't have to wear it anymore. You can take it off." And he looked at him and he took it off and smiled. And I was so proud that he extended that and took his time out to tell someone, you don't have to do it anymore. So a lot of people are getting over it. I imagine it's the same there with you. We want change, but see, this is the weird thing. All of us want a positive change. We don't want the old thing, what they've got. They want to impose a negative change on us, but we want a positive change. So either way, change is coming. We just need to grab hold of that energy and make it our way by what you say, Sharon, don't wear the mask. And, you know, they'll threaten you. That's what's surprised me, is the amount of threats and all that they've put on people to bring about their own change.
Yeah, I think it's part of their game, and it's part of we just have to look at them and go, no, thank you.
Exactly.
You know, don't put the anger there.
Yep.
You know, start using their words on them. You know, one of my favorite terms that comes from the woke people over here is "that offends me." Why can't we use that word?
Well, I thought that too. Because before all this started, I'd go into a shop and they'd have the TV on, and I'd be sitting there in a waiting room or whatever, looking at this TV and going, do I go up to the lady and go, can you turn the TV off, please? It offends me. It's offending me. And it was,
exactly.
I find it offensive. And I should have done it. I'm a lot braver now than I was 2 years ago. I'd do it now. I'd walk in and go, excuse me, the TV, I find the TV offensive. Can you turn it off, please? No one will say anything. No one's brave enough to say anything. And so I'm going to do it from now on, Sharon. Thank you. When I go to a person's house, I'm going to go, excuse me, can you turn off the TV? I find it offensive.
And I think the other piece of it is they want to have... I was listening to this two people argue. One was a woke person, one was one of us. And the woke person kept saying, we need to come to an agreement. And I'm thinking, actually, we don't need to come to an agreement. We can agree to disagree. That can be our agreement. But I never am going to agree with you. There's a difference.
That might make too many different changes.
It was very, I don't want to use the word condescending, but it was very, what's the word? It keeps running in and out of my head. It's not exactly condescending, but it's still not, it feels crappy. It feels like, oh, you're supposed to acquiesce to this wokey person.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we get so mad and scream at them. Yeah. It's like, just shut the hell up. You guys are assholes. Because it's just this icky, pooey. It feels like somebody boils something sticky and pours it on you.
No.
It's like, we have to come to an agreement. It's like, get your sticky crap off of me. Keep it in the pan. Yucky.
And you have that right.
It's like you feel about the robots, Luna. It's like, get those things out of my face.
I said that to my husband, but I got this inherent urge to beat them up.
They seem to want to offer a fair deal for all. But that fair deal for all takes so much away from them, and the elite has to give up the same and live on the same fair plane of the planet.
But they don't give up anything, Bernice. That's the catch-22. They're giving up nothing.
At what point, when the squeeze is upon the wokelings,
actually, they gave up them whole
just
selves.
about right now, the squeeze is coming.
They've given their whole selves up.
And where are they going to go?
Are you talking about the woke people?
Yeah. Another shot, another mandate, a ticket through the mail because the drone spotted them doing 2 miles an hour over. When all that and your boy out there, he's got all the toys, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
So when and it starts docking their paycheck.
Yes.
They're coming right out of it. No, no judge, no nothing. Nope, the AI computer got you. There's no argument.
Yeah. You're talking about my beloved Mussolini, right?
You're scaring me, Bernays.
It's all there. They've already showed it. They set you up by saying you don't want police because you don't want to have the interaction with another human being who might point out you might have screwed up.
Yeah.
You can't have that. You shouldn't have to go through that. You're better than anything else, so nobody deserves that. Well, we'll give you a robot and fine you for every time. I mean, it is really the day the earth stood still, and what was it, Gort, the power to take the world. It kind of seems that way to me right now.
Yeah. I have to go, you guys. This was blessed. Since we're recording, I'm just going to make this quick. Much, much love to everybody. Have a wonderful, blessed week. We'll check in with you later.
Thank you.
You too. Much love.
Yeah, thank you for joining, Sharon. Have a blessed week. We love you. And hopefully we'll see you next week.
Yes. Love you guys.
Thank you.
Night.
Take care, Sharon. Love.
So, we haven't heard from Polly or Naysayer yet. So, change. Let's make a change and hear from someone else. No? Okay. So,
changes.
Yep. Change. Yeah, that was the song I was trying to sing, but I couldn't remember it all. I was hoping someone else would pick it up. Because I don't remember things. Gee, it's noisy here out in the street 1 week before Christmas. Okay, so change. Talking about Christmas, this year's a different kind of Christmas. There's certainly change in our regular holiday seasons. How did you find your, what do you call it? Thanksgiving and that? Was it much changed, or was it like all the other years?
The change for me.
Was it change?
But it was a good change. It is what it is. It was just a normal Thursday to me. Nothing out of the ordinary.
They're drag racing. Can you hear that? I'm so sorry, everyone. That's all the rich men with their rich toys showing them off on a Sunday morning.
I think you'll be all right. I don't hear anything.
That's good. Hopefully the noise suppression will cut it out. Okay. Well, everyone's...
Hello.
Oh, Polly. How you going, Polly?
Going pretty good. Digging myself out. Not just because it snowed. It's nothing.
Oh,
nothing major.
I was going to say, what happened? It snowed and you're digging.
It's just snow. Just snow.
I have to say, I've
melts.
never dug myself out of snow.
Yeah, I just kind of you gotta just walk through it. You just gotta put more layers on, and you just gotta walk through it. So on the topic of change, I want to know if anyone can point out to me a time in their life where nothing was changing. There was a static moment of change, because I was trying to find one in my life, and I'm pretty sure after I looked at my entire life, I looked at almost every single plant that I've ever grown, every single pet that I've ever had, every single person that I've interacted with, everything that I have interacted with, like literally everything, has been in a constant state of change forever since I've been alive, including my own body, my own capacity to even be aware of, more subtle changes. Everything is constantly changing. So when have we ever been in a situation where things don't change is what I want to know, if anyone has any of those examples.
Well, 30 years of marriage. No, I'm joking.
I was hoping for a marriage joke. Yes.
No, actually, when I was looking at it then, Polly, it's like circles. So you got one big circle, that's your life, and then you got a little circle in it, which could be you keeping your house and cooking stuff. Then you got another circle, which is where you interact with your family. Then you got another circle where you go to work. There's different levels of change in each circle constantly. Do you know what I'm saying? So it does. It happens everywhere all the time, but it happens, different places. Like you got daily change, then you got your yearly change. It's like little circles.
I'm visualizing a spirograph type pattern. I don't know if you know what those are, but they're like.
Hey.
They draw basically like patterns based on repetitive cycles, but they change slightly, and so the angle changes, and you end up with a beautiful flower if you go through enough changes enough times.
Polly,
at the end of it, you end up with this huge, amazing piece of artwork.
I hate to inform you, but you got the second generation spirograph. Some of us in the chat room here got the first generation spirograph.
However, Polly is absolutely correct with his allegory of the spiral graph. And I think, Luna, when you talk about circles, it's similar to when I talk about cycles.
Yep.
Because I believe, from my perspective, the only constant beyond change is the observer or the entity's ability not only to recognize but acknowledge that things are changing beyond their control, because we are so caught up in the id or the ego that we are resistant to change or minimally acknowledge it, because we want control. This is why we have this challenge with the major things that we can control in our lives is the food we put in our body, or what we do with the illusion of time. Because time in the whole cycle of existence is a cursor or a point marker on the cycle. And so as everyone continues to say, the absolute is change is inevitable. And whether you want to call it a denotation of time or a phase marker on the circle or cycle, semantics. And so how do we minimally be part of that change to where we are part of the cause and effect of the change for positivity? It's like Luna talking about change as being like a river. If we are floating down that river, are we just going to go like willy-nilly and float down that river, or are we going to create a oar or a paddle to help direct that change through the flow?
Screw the paddle, man. I'm building a dam.
Well,
You
Peter,
gotta
damn
drain
it.
the paddle and steer so I don't fall into the rapids. I'm gonna change the course. I'm gonna change my course.
Hey, isn't it ironic that there's one thing about change that has never ever changed at all ever?
Well, it's more ironic that she really thinks she can sing too.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Not you, Lena.
No.
Luna.
If you're talking about going up the stream with the paddle, I'd change into a fish and swim under the water.
I'd change the ground underneath me from water to land so I could walk.
There you go.
Well, then do it.
Instead of paddling upstream. Jeez,
Now
just
we're
get out of
thinking.
the river and walk,
Quit talking about it and do it.
right?
Because that is the one absolute that collectively together we can create a bigger change than we can as an individual. However, where is that balance? How can we change our individual direction so that it works as above, so below for a positive change on a grander scale? Because I find that the best teaching is to live or attempt to live a righteous path. And unfortunately, some may claim it's a lonely path because of our own shame or guilt, or because we've consistently been programmed to judge ourselves on somebody else, through the social conditioning of what is considered to be socially accepted. So when we see people, I get humbled. There's a book by Paharanda Yogananda Sa, and it's called, and I'm not a big fan of the title, it's called Man's Eternal Quest. And it's this yogi's writing about his absolute love and existence within God.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was a cookbook.
Right, because it'll cook your noodle if you read it close enough. But this book would humble me, because I don't know the individual himself, but the words that he's writing that are so inspirational about being within love, without fear, and loving yourself and accepting yourself for the entity that you are, yet judging your own words and actions. Because I think that I know, we know what is positive, what is negative, and what is neutral. And I got to mute for a second.
Yeah, I agree. We do know inside ourselves the differences. I wonder how...
What would you say is the difference between the word change and augment?
Augmented sounds like it's been interfered with artificially and turned into something.
No.
I don't
Because
know.
I've augmented many perspectives of my own.
Tell you the truth, Polly, the only term when I've heard augmented is years ago when I got a throat infection and they gave me some penicillin stuff called Augmentum.
Oh wow! Because no, it's quite common. Even in music, you can have notes that are augmented, or chords rather, that are augmented.
All right. So please, what does it mean? Kevin Green said it means he's adding to. Augment is adding to. Is that right?
Isn't that, yeah? Well, I guess that's a good way to put it. I suppose. But is that not changing? If you're adding to, it's kind of.
Well,
like, yeah, you can have the augmented seventh in music. So yeah, that augment is adding to it. Is as far as music goes.
Well, that's why I use the analogy of growing.
Isn't that a form of change, though? Like
yes, that's why I use the analogy of growing. We're the seed, and then we grow throughout our lives. And you could say we're constantly changing, or you could say we're constantly growing, because we're actually still the same.
Unchanged but added to, yeah. That's where I was getting at.
Yeah.
But so if it's added to, how is it not unchanged? Because there's some simple things that if you just add a simple thing to it, it completely changes it. Like, completely. For instance, take an atom away from certain molecules and see what happens.
Structure,
right?
yeah.
So,
I'd say it's the structure. So the structure of you, which would be your spirit. You come here, things change. Like the structure of the house stays the same, but you add onto it and make it modern. But if you peel back that modern layer, you actually see the old structure underneath it. So it's still the same thing, just added onto you. and some people add new things, modern things to the growth, and other people like to keep the old look and, you know, keep the historical look of the growth. So that's why some people today speak like old-fashioned and have good manners and all that, and other people speak more modern and use lol and all those words.
And then there's the other opposite end of that sort of same question, and it's metamorphosis, where, like, I guess the most common example for that would be the caterpillar turning into the butterfly.
Mm-hmm.
Like a complete change in
Two different things.
Physiological limitations, right? But is it still the same thing?
Well, when you look at a caterpillar, you know it's going to be a butterfly, and when you look at a butterfly, you know it's going to lay eggs and have a caterpillar. It's the same thing, but different stage. And you can't have one without the other, in this world anyway. So I like the word growth more than change. But then sometimes change can be destructive and actually set you back.
Well, to me, I don't know. I was thinking about that, like, just literally like 20 minutes ago before I even jumped in, and I thought that growth was like maybe just a way of like putting a ruler or some kind of measuring stick up against change.
Well, I was going to ask that, how do we measure it? How do we measure change?
Well, that's, again, the observer's perspective of the last marking. That's
well, yeah, some people don't even see the change, and some people do, right? So,
you know, well, I mean, just look at this pivotal moment of the cycle that's coming up, January 1st. We call it the new year, you know, and this is a marking on your cycle where it's like, okay, I'm 54. This means I'm going to be 55, you know, or, you know, remember the COOF in 2021, you know, so that, you know, that's it, you know, our birth date, we use that date recognition for a marking of the cycle. You know, back in 19 diggity doo da day, when I was born, you know, 5 years later, 10 years later, 7 years, 14, you know, depending on the observer. And then all of a sudden you read a book or somebody else shares with you, did you know Adolf Hitler's birthday is April 20th, 420? So are we celebrating his birthday or PPP utilage?
He left us there. We haven't had that silence for a while, they say. Good on you. Threw that ball in.
Well, I've often wondered if I can jump in here.
Oh, of course you can.
But with change, like a couple things you guys said, the difference with change and augmentation. So what I understand augmentation is that the main structure that you begin with does not change in any way, and you can add on to that main structure. So it's still the main thing unchanged, but now it's different because it's been augmented. But it still goes or begs to differ, like what you guys are saying. It doesn't that constitute a change in itself? And I guess it kind of feels like running around in circles a little bit with discussing like what is change. But in my mind, what I've wondered is, or how I've seen it, is like looking at civilizations or cities. And it seems like the more ancient a civilization, or the more closely tied to the earth that civilization is, the more resistant they are to change, to the change in their culture, to the way of life. If some other governing body comes in to dominate that culture, if it's more rigid in its ways and that comes with time, doing the same thing again and again and again, the less they are willing to move or bend or go into that change with that new governing body. And I think it kind of happens to us too. As we get older, we get more and more resistant to change. It's everywhere evident that, you look at a 70-year-old, they are very stuck in their ways. And while depending on how much personality growth and travel and different things that they've done in their life, the more apt they are to receive different kinds of change into their life. But what I think has happened over since 2021 is that our country, the US, but the whole globe as well, but speaking from my standpoint, what I saw was the whole country got immediately plunged into an emergency panic trauma right now, and it was like overnight kind of thing, a repeat of 9/11 almost. But we never really got a chance to heal from that trauma, or to take a step back and say, hey, what has happened here? This is a big change to our world now. And instead, we got shoved into panic and more change through the cycle. So our natural human rhythms never had a chance to even step back and realize what the first trauma was to begin with, because already more trauma was happening and more panic was being loaded on top of going on. So it's like the change is come to a point for, I think, most of us that are like, wait, no more masks, stop this. It's like we understand deep intrinsically that this change isn't good for our bodies, that it's not going to do anything beneficial to like enrich our whole communities and this kind of thing. It's totally removing everything human away from us and replacing it with dehumanization, with mask up, like what Nana was saying earlier. Mask up, shut up, sit down, and stop breathing. Which that kind of change a human isn't going to adapt to, right? I mean, we're going to become overwhelmed to a point that we need to burst out and speak, because it's the way our bodies are made. It's the way our minds work. And I think, yeah, like what we talked with Kevin Green with earlier a few days back, that the whole elitist world is becoming, they are dehumaned themselves. They're not even human at this point, because they're so locked into, this is what you will take it or die. And for, I think, the general populace, we don't know how to respond to that, except in, get that away from me, So that was a couple of my thoughts. But back to like civilizations, I do wonder if more ancient civilizations like Australia or Maya or Japan or China that have a stronger tie to traditions, of course not all of China, but there are some rural Chinese areas that are like this. And it's like their structures, their cities, their places, they stay the same through the years, right?
You actually...
I think I'm done with my soapbox.
No, that was good. Thanks, Malia. And I'm actually starting to think I'm going to do a show called Soapbox. Anyway,
that was excellent.
It was beautiful, Malia. Thank you.
That would be awesome. So much.
I was listening to that, and I'm thinking, it just made me realise some people use change as a weapon. That's what they're doing. They're using change as a weapon. They can inflict it upon us. Those things that have lasted through time, they just haven't inflicted upon them things. They've tried. But I think they're a bit old and bigger than they are. But they're inflicting it upon us. They're form of change.
Who are the people that are inflicting it? They're the doctors, they're the psychologists, the Freuds. I don't think they're Jungs, but maybe. But they're the Freuds, and they're introducing the trauma. It's trauma mind control. It's real simple. And how do you want me to change by you enforcing that? I guess I'm the first off to the camp. I don't know. I thought I was patriotic to this country, but from either that or the AI is totally reversed. And it's just got the whole upside down thing, just to a T. If it was 1% of the person for this, that's now 99. I mean, we're dealing with hell on the fritz.
Well, if it's an AI, that's easy to confuse, because humans and the way we're made, and we change our mind like the wind, and we change constantly, would not keep up with how we are, and as a mass we could confuse it instantly. I remember sitting down once earlier in the computer age when they got this computer robot that you can talk to, right? And I used to get on there, I wanted to see what it was like. And it kept accusing me of being a robot. And I was talking to things about cycles, like what we'd talk about in AC, cultural stuff like infinite circles and the universe, and just things that the AI wouldn't even have much to do with, because you got to be human to be it, and you know what I mean. And I realised that if a lot enough humans got on there that flow spiritually and mentally, we could really confuse that machine. It would probably shut itself down.
So when I talk about the circle, and if we can go back to that allegory, and if it helps you drawing it on a piece of paper, it even is more beneficial. So we create our circle, and from that circle, if we think about it as a clock face, where we're at 12, and we have that arc, that 90-degree arc that goes from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Because when we divide the circle with, by 4, where we have 12 to 3, 3 to 6, 6 to 9, 9 to 12 again. So if we think of that arc, that's how things naturally progress in like an arc, a sweeping arc like that. But when the powers that should not be, they utilize sacred geometry, Platonic solids, because they utilize the allegory of the angles of those structures, those solids, and they put them into life circumstances, whether it's the banking system or a business system or manipulating the masses. So back to the arc from 12 to 3. So because of man and their desire to get from here to there, they want to flatten the curve. So if you think of a straight line from 12 to 3, you no longer have that arc. So they can get from 12 to 3 quicker. And if they can flatten the curve or get rid of the arc, then they get rid of the guessing, where change is not always predictable unless you know the past cycle for a better, because once you know the arc of the curve, for the most part, you have a greater assumption of what shall come next within the change. So that's why they want to flatten the curve, to go directly from 12 to 3, and then 3 to 6, and then 6 to 9, and then 9 to 12 again. You can visualize that.
The problem I got in SA, is the curve that they're trying to flatten is the population curve.
Absolutely. It's that and many other things too. This is all as above, so below, the microcosm, the macrocosm. This is found in practically every ancient teachings that I have read about in these old scriptures and these old holy texts and works from around the world. They all talk about this. They all talk about, like Renzo says, the math. And when you get into the whole basic math, then you're dealing with Platonic solids. So then when they're flattening the curve, so ideally they want to flatten the curve by 3, that sacred number. Because if you divide the circle in 3, you get a triangle. And so where 12 to 3 is a smaller straight line, and the powers that should not be are happy with that, but what they really want is to divide it as much as they can. So 3 minimally is what they can work with the great percentage of success. So then instead of going 12 to 3, they're going 12 to 5.5. And then they go 5.5 across to 7.5. And then I can't remember. But you see what I'm saying? So the powers that should not be want to flatten the curve so they know the direct, absolute line of sight course for their fill in the blank, or basically continuing control and power. And it's that simple.
Every time you say it, I
And
feel
that's the way it's been going like this for 5,000 plus years.
time for change.
Oh, there it goes. Oh, here it comes again. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, time for
Change
change.
is as frequent as saying now.
Yes, true. Some changes are slow, some are fast. That's why I keep seeing it in cycles, circles. It's just how things are. Why don't they teach us about change? Like when we're young, like traditionally you'd learn about nature and the cycles, and you'd learn about change. And as a woman, you kind of learn about change because your body's changing completely from the day you're born to the day you die. There's no set thing. But no one
That's
actually...
weird. That's the same thing men go through.
Yeah, I figured that. I just haven't got a man's body, so I couldn't speak on behalf of the men because I'm out of my depth there, Naysay.
I don't know if I can confirm or deny that the allegory of you may have what they call bigger balls than others would be possibly a true statement.
I don't know, but I've got to remember. Now. I was going to say something then. It wasn't appropriate. Sorry.
I wouldn't say what also may allegorically be bigger also, but...
Oh, dear. All right, change. I don't know that song, but all I can hear is change. Embrace change, everybody. Even if you don't like the change.
Changes, make the change. Changes.
Thank you.
Strange.
David Bowie.
Time may change me.
But I won't change time.
Cool. I like that.
I just changed time.
Yeah, you just get on the back.
Yeah?
Yeah, on the back of the clock.
Just recognize you forgot the kitchen clock wasn't set on.
That's one way to do it.
That's
one way to do it. Or you could take a song that's in 4/4 and turn it into 8/12.
I'm out of my depth.
He's
The
talking
time
about
signatures
signature
in
time
music.
for.
They can be changed. That in such a way that it doesn't actually change the actual song, like tempo wise. But as far as phrasing goes, it changes everything. But it's still the same song. You wouldn't know it. Only if you're the drummer would you probably recognize it, that it changed from 4/4 to 12/3, or like.
Gee, Polly.
Yeah, time. You can change time in music at will. Like the song "Money" goes from 7/4 to like 4/4, right in the middle of the song.
I agree with Jules.
Yeah.
You haven't asked the question yet, and I reserve the question for you, Polly, about why do they call leftover money change?
I think change to me always I associate it with coins though. Like, yeah, your change is
What?
it can be given to you in a paper value, but to me change has always been like, hey buddy, got any change? Like, you got change for $1, or like, you give me some change for the phone, or like.
If someone asked me if I had any change, I'd whack them in the face and go, "Yeah, that'll change."
Can I have change for the pinball machine or the pool table, or like, so I can tip somebody, or yeah, it's for the parking meter. It's always been coins, and I don't know when that happened.
Well, if you look at it,
go ahead.
If you look at it from the stem of it, or from its previous use, it's an exchange. You and another individual come to a compromise of a trade, whether it be currency or something else. And so then if you're giving a currency and the currency bill is more, there's an exchange going on. And so to make it right, to make it fair and square, then unless signified by the presenter of the bill,
it's like an exchange. It's a change that you used to have, but you no longer associate with it, so it's more like an exchange.
Exit, change left.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking, listening to you fellas going, the buggers, they can exchange this, what's going on, they can change it and exchange it anytime they want. They can deliver.
Doesn't rhyme with Texas though. Damn.
Ha!
Remember that one president? Oh no, that was Yes We Can. But what didn't he say? Wasn't one of his catchphrase something about change?
The final frontier. Oh,
these are the voyages.
Just kidding. It changed.
His birth certificate definitely changed a lot.
You see, now we're finding the humour in change. Change has such a character. It commands all the other words that we've spoken about in the past few weeks, and it's got humour. It has compassion, like emotion. Change is a weird thing. I never knew change.
It actually has 6 characters.
What's that?
I think change's roots are showing.
Better change that.
Does change get old? Because usually you have a change.
Yeah, change develops a nice patina.
And there's different changes, you know that?
Different observational perspectives.
And why would one deem one change to be good and one change not to? On the eye of the beholder? Or is there a point where there just is good change and bad change? Or on the whole, is it just the way it is?
Well, there was one thing I typed in the chat, like this, when someone says it's a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
So the word changer in it has the word anger. And quite often in sports, especially when you're gambling on said sports, and there's a game changer, it can cause a significant amount of anger. So I thought that was kind of weird, that there was a correlation between anger and change. And then there's people that are afraid of change, and yeah, that's how all that went down.
There's also more of an authoritative measurement of it when you say changer. Because are you the changee that things changed on unexpectedly, or are you the one that manipulated within the change, and so then you're the changer?
I like being the changee. Sounds better.
Well,
yes, I am Paul from the changee.
The money changers are sticking it to us changees at the moment.
Yep.
I'd rather be the changing.
And I've had change thrust upon me against my will many times. And having...
Was it against your will, or were you just resistant to change?
Well, I didn't think it was a positive change, and it wasn't. It had negative outcomes. But the change was...
Did you get a receipt?
No, I didn't, damn it. I could have got an exchange.
That's what I say about a PTP exchange.
You can't exchange it without a receipt.
Yes, I know.
That's what I say. You have a problem with it? Did you save the receipt?
No, I didn't. That's probably why nothing happened. But what I realised was I didn't like to yield change, as in me thrusting change upon others without their consent or without it being part of a natural flow.
Well, that goes back to the whole perspective of the observer. Because from that other side, this is the whole thing of where it's like, whose side are you on?
I try not to be any sides. That's why I like round things. They don't have sides.
Right. Well, within the round thing or the sphere, there's the inside and the outside.
Well, I can handle that.
So
change.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not listening because I'm on this side of you.
You got to watch out. I've got this cheeky thing in me at the moment, and it's busting to get out. Yeah. So. Yeah.
So how do we manipulate change? How do we become the changer?
That's what I'm saying. I don't like to do that. I've got no receipts and I've got no coupons, and I don't like to do it. I would just prefer it to happen naturally without my... I've accidentally thrust change upon things and it hasn't worked out well, as the same as it's been thrusted upon me.
We could challenge everybody that listens to us to get a 6-man, 10-man, 20-man round table and talk about it.
Good word. Challenge. It's very similar to change. Just add a few L's in there, a few sticks. There you go.
But is challenge offensive or defensive?
Neither.
I just ask you. It's the holiday season of good cheer. Should you not be able to sit down and speak of the world? Or are we only in Scrooge times of the bad future?
Right, but should we shit on somebody?
Are we shitting on somebody? And if I offended something here, I didn't realize I did it.
Well, then that in itself is a dilemma, because when someone offends purposely or unknowingly, whose duty or responsibility is it to make the proclamation of such a thing?
No one's, because when someone gets offended, nothing changes. Get offended all you like. Nothing changes. Offense is never going to change anything.
Well, offense will divide one backyard to the other.
Yeah, but by then I'm already out. Like, that doesn't change anything.
All right.
If you're offended, and just like nothing happens. Getting offended is not is not meant to change anything. Getting offended is meant to be there so that you realize that there's probably a reason why you're being offended, and that reason needs to be scrutinized more than the reason why you're offended. Then things can change.
Well, I just cheated.
Or if there was an offense, somebody would have to at least advise the person there was such offense.
Offense is not anything that should be thrust onto anybody else. If you're offended, you need to deal with it, not because of somebody else offending you.
You have to look.
Define thrust, though.
Well,
It's just if an offense is vocalized, is that a positive thing or a negative thing or minimally neutral?
It's a I don't know what you call it.
Depends on the offence.
It's a null point to me. It doesn't mean anything. Being offended is nothing that there's nothing I can do or that I could have prevented from anybody being offended from anything I do or say, because being offended is a choice based on that person.
Okay, can we have change now?
Right?
Because a lot of times it's not about me.
We would love to get a lot of these changes happening. If people would stop getting so bloody offended, we could probably have half of them done by now.
Hey, I just cheated and looked up the words containing change, and I got a surprise. And I want to share that surprise with you. These are the words containing change. Changeover, changeable, changeless, changeling, changeably, exchanges, gear change, archangels. I'll repeat the last one. Archangels.
You forgot changer.
Don't swear at me, Polly. These were on the radio. And then you'll find this interesting. Words that can be made with change, with the word change. Now listen to this. I found it interesting. One of them I can't pronounce though. Ache, acne, cage, cane, each, gain, and then there's a word Haen, hain, but I don't know what that is. I found it funny that ache and cage and each were in the word change, but the word archangels got me because it's like they are the bringers of change, and there's change in their name. Wow, they bring a gear change, all right.
Right, but define archangels.
Define them. Well, one, I don't want to defy them because we'd be in shit. Define them. Big masses of energy that work for the big fella upstairs. Do you want me to keep going? Do I have to tell you what they look like when they want to make you look like they have actually a shape?
Well,
they're really, really
tall.
tall.
Tell us your experience.
Yeah, my experience of them. Yeah, exactly. That's why I said they're just big masses of energy, because I know that they look different and appear different to everyone else. My experiences of them are they're very, very large, and they're not. How can I put it? Everyone thinks that angels are these little, lovely, fluffy little things that never raise their voice and they sing, sing, sing. But they're actually not. They're kick-ass warriors, and they're very forgiving and kind, and they have all that stuff that we're searching for. But when Creator says go kick ass, they'll kick ass.
And they're actually all tone deaf too, I heard. So never get more than 3 angels singing together, because it's horrible.
That's from your point of view.
No, that's the point of view I was given from when the angels sing. It's always like, oh, and like perfect triads and everything. And I'm picturing archangels, they're trying to sing, and it's like someone with untuned bagpipes.
Right. But my perspective, it is archangels.
Archangels.
When you go back to the allegory of the circle, and you divide it into 4, you have a 90-degree, a right angle, the right angle. So from 12 to 3 is a major arc of the angle, and you have
My
four of
circle's
them.
We all
My
try.
circle's offended that you divided it into
And-
4.
And we all try to
And
come from the right angle.
When you look at that allegory, then you see it correlate and parallel with the astrology signs. It correlates with the Bible. You know, like Renzo always says, the math is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the math that's within the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
the 2 holy fables, you see all of these allegories of sacred geometry.
Oh, I feel such a failure when you say it that way, because I don't even know all my times table. And when you look at the world that way, you and Renzo are like right up there. Ah.
No.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just want to say, well, times tables. I just got to do flashcards with those. But my dad sent me down, made me do my flashcards every morning. And actually, that's what got me thinking about it. Like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But some people just aren't, math isn't their thing. And that's, you have a lot to contribute. That math isn't the only thing. The math seems to suggest that math isn't the only thing.
But
That's my joke.
I like to. It's a nice change to hear you talk about the world from that point of view.
Aww.
And like I said to you the other day, I can't wait for the day when spirituality and science get married and they have a happy life together.
That's like hashtag life goals.
Embrace the change.
Yes. Embrace the change.
Oh, I've got things in my house, moving shit around. I'll be back in a second. And when I'm talking about things, they're not there. I've got spirits in my house, and they've been in my kitchen for the last 3 weeks, knocking things over all the time.
You better make them some toast.
Yeah, exactly, because they keep
Yes, in my room.
Extra butter.
They're probably telling me to eat more. For a change. Change.
I think the spirits in my room move things around
I like
without me
change.
knowing in order to make me clean my room.
So actually, in spirit world, change is part of it, but it's always stayed the same. There's one, I don't know what it's called, when something, it's like kind of ironic when something always stays the same, but it uses change as its weapon.
That would be that sounds like, oh, I'm so sorry, I interrupted you. I have chronic interruption syndrome. I'm so
That's
sorry.
okay. It makes for a nice change. I ramble on most of the time anyway. Hey, you want me to?
So not very polite.
That's all right. This is a round table. We're all, there's no sharp edges here. It's all good. All right. So we're kind of going all over the place now. Change. We want to roll it out, or we'll round it up. And
The spirit change, you usually roll it up.
you do.
It's a
Do
good
they
one.
still do that? They do roll it up.
I do. Or I did. I have some in my closet, and I never went and took them to the bank.
Well,
And now that they're asking for change, I'm like, well, I'm not giving you my change. I didn't even bring up the feds at the end of the round table, though.
I like what you said though. The government wants change. And I'm not going to give you change. That way it's a bit like we're all standing. No, you can have your own change. We got our own change in mind.
I mean, you're not too far off the beam with that. We do have our own change in mind for us. We want to change where times are changing inevitably, and we realize that, and we want to change for the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I think how foolish of them to think that they can wield change and use it as they wish, because from the discussion that we've had tonight, I think change is a major player in life, and the only one that would be able to control it would be the big man upstairs, with the permission
Amen.
of the woman standing behind him, obviously. But yeah, I think it's foolish if you want to try and change the whole world under your conditions. Foolish and selfish. Even for us that go, oh, we want a wonderful life, we want roses and food everywhere, and that's even selfish of us to impose our change upon people, even though we want a wonderful life. So I think that's why be the change, make the change in your own little world, and it'll filter out to others that have a same kind of change in mind, and let everyone have their own kind of change. Perhaps that may be a better way. I don't know. What do you fellas think as we round
I
up?
like it.
I'm on par with
Well,
you.
I think if we launch ourselves up, and I was just thinking about this, if we launch ourselves up into the spiritual atmosphere above and kind of take a look at the world and people in general and this kind of thing, and understanding when it comes to change, I think that humans are naturally developmentally able to change when that change is slow or not big, sudden, forced upon you thing. But
Yeah.
when that change is sudden and it's forced upon you and it's brought with trauma and panic is caused, then that's the kind of change that I think we all naturally say, I don't want that. I want to resist that change. That change isn't good for my psyche, right?
Yeah.
So in the spiritual atmosphere or environment, I think that we come to a place where we can, sorry, she wants to overwhelm, but we come to a place where we can look at children, and how children absorb change. That's all. I'm good.
True, children flow. They flow from one change to another without too much distress. But also I've realised that some of them changes could be great and they affect them later in life, but while they're children, it's like water off a duck's back. And I don't know, is it as we get older we resist change? Are we programmed somehow to not let it flow like when we're a child? Is there a trick there? Or is it just the way it is? Is there something happening to us when we get old that makes it not work anymore? Where we can flow and change and benefit from whatever change comes? We start to resist it, it causes friction and it causes problems in our lives because we're trying to keep... This is another thing I noticed today, I wanted to mention earlier. We are taught you go to school every single day, then after that you go to work every single day, and life is structured on this same pattern, but yet they thrust change upon us all the time. And I'm one of them people, I'm not consistent. I can't do the same thing over and over and over and over again. I have to let it flow, and change will filter in and I'll go with it. But I noticed in this world they make us do the same thing every day, every day, every day, every day. But that's not the way it should be, because change is in every second of our life.
Keeps things from getting boring, and there's nothing I can't stand more than being bored.
Yeah. So there's a real need for change in our lives.
I'm sorry, Lynn. It's sure not boring right now.
That's for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank God. At least for me.
We're actually finding creatures now. I'm looking at, because I'll walk up the road and the same way for so many times, and then I'll go a different way because I want to change. But I'm not actually changing the fact that I go for a walk every day. Do you know what I mean? Change is a shapeshifter. I would say if change was a person, it'd be a shapeshifter with many depths.
Well, it's a big shapeshifter.
Yeah, change, a different cryptid we haven't just now discovered.
Or is change one big family and it's got all these relatives and they run around the world? They're all little separate beings. Where are you going today? Oh, I'm going in this family. I'm going to change your life. Is that where... I could go on and on. Anyway, I'm just raving right now. I'm just carrying on, raving not about much, and needing a bit of a change. I was going to...
Question. Because I came in late. Have y'all been talking about time and change at all?
Yes, we figured that change was actually part of time, like it's left.
It is, yes.
Like it's
or at least that's what, in the science community, that's a big theme, dynamics.
Yes, change is part of time. They're connected there. And I've got a feeling there's something else connected to change and time that makes it all happen. But I haven't thought about it yet.
Good word, dynamics. Because dynamics insinuates a constant state of change. Especially when it comes to music. Like, dynamics are crucial in music if you want to, like, instill any kind of emotional feedback from your audience. You have to make it dynamic, which means it's constantly changing, whether that means tempo or volume or tone or rhythm. All those things can change the dynamics, which is, that's cool to think about.
I like that connection. Or like how you
just brought up a good question. Is time our interpretation of change?
Well, it's definitely a measure of change for sure, because you could measure things how they change over time. Almost anything you can measure that.
Well, that's what I was asking before.
How do you? They're definitely unconnected.
How do we measure it?
Yeah, usually. How do we measure time?
How do we measure change?
Well, how you measure time is by what changes over a certain time. Like, that's how you measure what. So the measurement of change is directly correlated with the measure of time in most things. It's like, well, how long did that change take to happen? When did it start? When did it end? Or when does it end?
And Kevin just put, we measure time in circles and cycles. Yeah, that's all I kept seeing was, actually, maybe we should not say time anymore and perhaps say change. Or not say change anymore and perhaps say time, because they seem to
I think it's interchangeable.
One in the same, yeah. It's interchangeable. Oh, Polly. Interchange.
Well, it doesn't sound as good if you say,
what's the difference between exchange and interchange?
One thing that never changes is things keep changing.
Is there a difference between interchange and exchange?
I know, that was too much of a headache for me.
Oh, Polly, I'm asking Polly, is the word master.
Ah.
I think there is, but I'm not the word master, but I think there is a difference. Inter and ex is basically the difference between internal and outside, like external. So I don't know how that applies to the question, but I know that's where I would start.
Yeah, that's a good one. Interchange. Exchange and
So you exchange gifts, but what do you interchange?
The train? I know.
Children.
Train into change. Yeah, no, that's entertain. Oh, Donnie's got to go. Yellow, Donnie. Thank you for joining us. Have a good week. This week's round table is a change from all the other weeks, you must say.
Yellow, Donnie.
Yellow, love you,
Yep.
brother. So, yeah, what a change. I was thinking of the river Polly. They say it's like a river, nothing's ever the same. You can dig a hole in the water and it'll fill in, and as the river goes by, it's just this stream of constant change. But it's always the river. That never changes.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. That's ironic because salmon always go to the same freaking river in the same freaking spot exactly to within like a couple of feet, generation to generation. They never change the spot which they spawn, ever. Even though the river changes.
Even though the river changes. Yeah, and to change that would devastate the whole species. But that's
So,
what I
I don't
mean.
know. I think
Some things are
some
like
changes are tolerable,
yeah,
and they're allowed by, I guess you could say, they're allowed to happen by Mother Nature because they know, because Mother Nature knows that change is going to be offset by another change that's going to happen later.
the increments and the amount that change is needed in increments. That's what I call of the natural change. For some reason, the natural change has everything accounted for. But when we do it, we're not that smart. It doesn't always work out that well.
Well, knowing that we're not that smart, I think, is the first step.
Oh.
That's the first step to recovery. That's the first step to change.
Changing. Yeah. Should have that in the background, the change music. If I was more technologically advanced, I would have that in the background. Yeah, I like natural changes. Sorry, Bananas.
Aren't we back to where we were technology-wise as humans? Who knows what date back in time?
Yes,
Aren't we at the same point? And they ended up in the Stone Age.
That's what I was saying before about the paper bags, the bags that you get from the shop. Like, when I was born, you took your own bag. When my children were born, they gave you a bag. So my children didn't know any different except for what I told them. But now in their lifetime, they're telling them to bring their own bags. So they think it's a new thing to bring your own bag, but it's actually an old thing. Because they weren't there to witness it before.
And now we live in a society where they give you paper bags when it's pouring rain outside.
Yeah. They slipped. They went a little bit far backward, too far back. But you're right, Benays. I actually see that. We're doing the same things. I think that's where the word "there's nothing new under the sun," because what we think is a change is actually something that happened a long time ago. We're just doing it again. There might be small changes in it, like maybe the colour it is, the way it looks, or the shape it is, or whatever. But basically, yeah, we're just running that same cycle, thinking it's a new one.
It sure seems to be. Except the meat suit changes, I'm not sure.
Yeah, you change your meat suit to a degree. Or sometimes you can change completely, not too often, but usually you look kind of the same, unless you swap from male to female. But even then, you look kind of the same. But
well,
that's changed. What about changing that and changing your life? If you have past lives, you changed in them, or have you?
I'm not sure on the past lives. I don't remember them like other people say.
Oh yeah.
I don't.
Well, it's not that important. It's only really important to that person's personal growth. That's really all they're there for. Is that that person can remember who they were before, remember the gifts they had before so they can reawaken them in them now if they haven't already done it, and it just gives them a better foundation for growing, because they remember who they are. And yeah, past lives are only there for the benefit of your personal growth. It's no big deal.
I have a few past lives, but they're just lives that I passed on.
You didn't want them anymore, or?
Yeah, I didn't want. They were like, "Here, why don't you try this one, Polly?" And I was like, "Nah."
Yeah, pass
No,
on.
I'll pass on that.
Yeah, some have got wear and tear. Some have got wear and tear in the wrong places.
How could term past lives? Because I'll be 65 this coming year, and I got 4 or 5 past lives in this one.
Yeah, well, that's true. In one lifetime, we actually live many lives. In one lifetime, let alone dying and coming back and doing it again. That's change for you. Bernays, how many times in your life if you had little lifetime, that's big change. And change faces us on every precipice and every breath we take. Change, change, change. Okay, well, I think we've squeezed all the change we can get out of change.
Is there a point where you can get all the change to just become the same?
Then it wouldn't be change anymore, and we'd need something else to come and change it. Yeah, I don't think so, because we've linked change to time, and change, which is actually growth, positive, negative, or neutral. So only set laws apply.
I think you could go a step further and say that change is just it's something that's it's the opposite of static.
Yeah, because the absence of change can be no good.
That's a photograph.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say that's a band, the absence of change. There's a good idea.
Right?
Yeah. Interesting.
So I think change is actually, it's always there. It's prevalent. It's like as prevalent and necessary, I would say, or argue, as water itself.
Yeah, that's why I likened it to, does it just flow like water? Because without it, there's no growth, nothing moves. The ocean.
Yeah, meaning you not only need water to have life, but you need change as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if the wind doesn't blow and make the trees' leaves move, it would stand still forever.
Yeah, static, no change, nothing would happen.
Yeah, I agree. So, change gets my tick of approval.
Statics is pretty much like, I just know this because I helped my brother. He took a statics class, and that's a class where everything is involving things that don't change. You're looking
that class must take a long time.
That was only a semester. It was a headache, though.
That was a joke.
Oh.
Wait for it.
I went over my head.
Sometimes the static jokes take a long time. Processing.
So, can I do another interruption? Hopefully,
oh, cool. Go for it, Malia. Go for it, Malia.
But I want to bring in something that I just kind of had a breadcrumb and went chasing down. I like to check the etymological references of words. So I thought, I haven't done change. Let me type it in here and see what it says. So I'd like to read it. It's from the Etymological Dictionary. It says, change is a noun. Comes from circa 1200. Act or fact of changing, from Anglo-French change, Old French change, exchange, recompense, reciprocation, from changier, to alter, exchange, or to switch. And meaning a different situation. Variety, novelty is from the 1680s, as in for a change from the 1690s. meaning something substituted for something else, is from the 1590s. Meaning a place where merchants meet to do business is from circa 1400. Meaning the passing from life to death is biblical from the 1610s. So the financial sense of balance of money returned after deducting the price of a purchase from the sum paid is first recorded in 1620. Hence, to make change by 1865, so a bell ringing sense is from 1610s. Any sequence other than the diatonic. Hence, the figurative phrase ring changes, repeat in every possible order from 1610. So, figurative phrase, the change of heart, is from 1828 in reference to women change of life, or the final cessation of menstruation, and that's recorded from 1834. But change as a vowel, so that was change as a noun, right? So change as a vowel is from circa 1200, to alter, make different, change, and it's transitive, early 13th century, as to substitute one from another, mid 13th century as to make something other than what it was, cause to turn or pass from one state to another. From the late 13th century, as to become different, be altered, intransitive, from Old French changier, to change, alter, exchange, or switch, and from the late Latin cambiare, or to barter, exchange. The extended form of Latin cambire, or to exchange or barter, is a word of Celtic origin, from the Pi root cam, which means end or crook, with a sense evolution perhaps from to turn to change, or to barter, cognate with the Old Irish cam, which means crooked or curved. So the Middle Irish Saim tribute, simbid, means a prisoner. So I found that really, really fascinating. There's a little bit more that goes into like talking about the changing of one's mind, which is from the 1590s, but then it goes into, it actually has a section on climate change. I thought that was funny. But so there you go. And I think, well, while I was reading that, I thought, oh my goodness, we got pretty much all of those basic words, understandings, and meanings, you know, as a group, as, you know, just talking about this. 2 cents each as it comes to us. And I think it's the wonderful benefits of the round table. And then to get the reassurance of, hey, we were kind of right. We unpackaged this thing. Right? So, comments? Anyone have any thoughts?
No, I agree with you.
That was interesting. Thank you.
My brain was getting triggered happy. Like, you know when you're triggered, but in a good way, like, oh my God, yeah. But like, it just keeps going. Yeah, that's like, I have my bad triggers and my good triggers. Lots of good, like, triggers. And I like how this, I never thought of the change, like, thing, like, change as in money. That tickled my brain.
Right, and that's what it seems like the whole word is really the etymological of that, which means like, where's the base, where did it come from, is based in, even in the Celtic Irish part of understanding that it's like this exchange, what Polly was talking about, the exchange of it, think about it, there's something about changing a solid gold bar into a whole bunch of little pieces, right? Like, don't you lose some of the value of that solid gold bar because we broke it into pieces?
Yes. You lose
No, we
tiny
changed it.
molecules of it.
Changed it. Ooh, and like what Kevin Miller said, typed into chat earlier too, that our friend from Scotland, have more Kevins, said, Kevin Green, did I get the name wrong? I hope not. But yeah, chin, the I chin means change in the Eastern.
Wow.
Yeah.
And we say ching ching
Oh, ooh, interesting.
for money.
Cambiar in
Ching ching.
cambiare in French language. Cha-ching, say cha-ching.
Yeah,
We say cha-ching.
yeah, cha-ching.
Yeah.
And the cashier, the register goes cha-ching.
You know, every time that's our programmed ooh. Ooh, that's kind of like Schrodinger's cat.
Yeah, little
My typewriter also says cha-ching, so it's not all about value here. Just saying.
And when you get
value of the line.
when you get an
Ching.
idea, your brain goes ching.
I ran out of ink ribbon. I need to change my ribbon.
Ooh,
Ha.
the root of words. I love it. Words.
Change allows information to flow. That's just
If
a
it's
thought
the
I just
proper
had.
change, not like a yeah.
Change
Well, I think
also
proper
allows you to
change no
drive
matter
on the
what.
highway.
Yeah.
Oh, the interchange.
You can
That's
throw
what I used
change
to
into a
say.
big bucket and then drive the next 100 miles or whatever it is.
On the interstate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where we
The,
don't.
the interstate never changes, but it takes all your change.
Interstate lets me change my position from one location to another pretty quickly. I love it. If it weren't for the interstate, I would not be who I am today.
Why do
Okay.
you call it the interstate though?
All right, my people. It's time to round this table up.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
And,
yeah,
I
that's
got
what I yeah.
I got lizards running
Square
around.
it off.
Yeah, square the table out. All right.
We're the circle table now.
Well, I've certainly enjoyed this evening. Thank you very much, everybody. It's been interesting. It's been a nice change.
Yes, let us all rue over to Kev.
Yes. All right.
Sure.
Well, thank you everyone for participating tonight, and thank you everyone for listening. I hope we've got a better understanding of change and how it works in our life, and I hope that we can all embrace the changes that are coming to us in the future in a loving and beautiful way. And like I said, I'd like to thank Creator for joining us today, as he does every week. And yeah, Yalu, have a good week, and we'll see you next time. Yalu, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Love you on this day.
Thanks for being here.
Bye.
Focus.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas too. Thank
Merry
you,
Christmas.
guys. Ho, ho, ho,
Yeah,
ho.
Thank you for that reminder.
See ya.
I know I keep forgetting it's Christmas.